Imagine being a global icon, breaking all barriers and inspiring millions. Then one day, you vanished without trace, leaving behind one of the greatest mysteries in history. That is the story of Amelia Earhart, the first female aviator to fly solo across the Atlantic, who disappeared into thin air while attempting the ultimate flight, circumnavigating the globe, in 1937. Amelia Earhart was no ordinary pilot. Born in 1897, she became a phenomenon of the 1930s by beating all records of flying in a period when women were hardly to be seen in such fields dominated by male chauvinism. She was the first woman who flew solo across the Atlantic Ocean in 1932, and for that performance, the world showed their appreciation to her. She wasn't only a pilot, but she symbolized feminine power. Earhart wrote books, lectured, and even worked with the US government to boost aviation. However, the most dangerous and ambitious of all her plans was her most ambitious one, flying around the world along the equator, covering over 40,000 kilometers. But this mission turned out to be her last. In 1937, Amelia Earhart, along with her navigator Fred Noonan, began this perilous journey in a Lockheed Electra 10E aircraft. Their plan would be to break up the flight into stages, flying in to refuel and to lay over. To the 2nd of July, 1937, they had flown 35,000 kilometers without incident, reaching Lae in Papua New Guinea. Their next stage of their flight, a 4,113 kilometers flight over open water to Howland Island, a tiny speck in the Pacific Ocean. This would be the last known place. The U.S. Coast Guard cutter Itasca was stationed near Howland Island to guide Earhart along. Her aircraft had all radios and the work was simple: trace signals from the Itasca back to shore. Something amiss went terribly wrong. Communication started to go nuts. Earhart's final transmission has been recorded saying, "We are on the line. 157 to 337. We are running north and south." And then, nothing. A huge endeavor was that by the United States. Nobody ever spotted or found Earhart, Noonan, or even the plane. The most often held belief of what happened was that Earhart's aircraft ran out of fuel and the aircraft crashed into the Pacific. This area has a depth of the sea that exceeds 4,000 meters, and therefore recovery may be very hard. Others believe Earhart and Noonan landed on Gardner Island, now known as Nicumarow, and survived as castaways. Skeletal remains and artifacts, including a sextant, were found in the 1940s that most believed were Earhart's or Noonan's. Later DNA tests were inconclusive. Another theory has Earhart's plane drift into Japanese-controlled territories. Some think that she was captured and charged with espionage, which led to her execution or imprisonment until she died. There is no concrete evidence to prove this. The second hypothesis is that Earhart's flight was a spy mission by the US government. It assumes that disappearance could have been orchestrated for fear of the leakage of the state secret. There is also an even weirder recurring idea, saying that Earhart survived and, returning to the United States, under the pseudonym name, lived there in obscurity. This has mostly been viewed as a fringe concept. Till date, researchers are still showing interest into Amelia Earhart's disappearance. Recently, sonar mapping technologies and underwater drones were discovered useful in their efforts to look for the wreck. There have been various expeditions from organizations that, so far, it is not explained yet. TIA, International Group for Historic Aircraft Recovery, comes at the top. An interesting fact is that, in 2018, the forensic anthropologists of Gardner Island examined the skeletal remains discovered. They determined these likely to be Earhart's, but again that too is controversial. Other than all mystery, Amelia Earhart lives. She is known through literature, film, and even space. A crater in the moon is named to her honor. Her story inspires with the courage, resilience, and human spirit to probe for boundaries. Amelia Earhart is one more of man's relentlessness about exploration spirits. She could be dead at the bottom of the Pacific or hiding somewhere, living out her remaining days. But even till today, she still makes a tale of her legend. But what do you feel happened? Was it an ordinary